Welcome to another episode in English of the Coffee with the Alchemist. That's me. Today we're going to have a coffee with Jimmy Ducker. Jimmy is a young dream caller, natural health researcher and wellness advocate. He is really into the biohacking world, with particular reference and focus on sleep and recovery. On this episode we will talk about dreams, natural remedies, sleep, recovery and essential oils, and something more about this experiment he's running these days. During this episode there will be some reference to the ayurveda practice and the holistic experimental project he's running right now from the Alchemist. Yes, that's me. But you know, the coffee is ready, so let's go and let's see what Jimmy has to say about essential oils. Enjoy the episode. Welcome, Jimmy. So let's talk about you. So from your LinkedIn profile, I'm very curious to see. You are dream caller, natural health researcher, and wellness advocate. Can you please introduce yourself using these words?
Yes, so we have. I put down three different kind of three kinds of job titles, so to speak. I'm working on. The first one is called Dream Caller, and why? It's like an opening thing to get into interaction with me, and what I really like to do, and what is really needed to, in one way or another, insight or invoke change to become a better or more improved version of yourself, is to be able to dare to dream. And many people have dreams about the past, like which are lingering on with like lost love or something. Some people are looking very far into the future but don't know how to start, and are just only grasping about how my life would have been or could have been. But yet there are different ways to actually go on to your life and just have a vision very straight, have a straight back, and just go through life with chasing your dreams or not doing so. It's also a very challenging thing, of course, if you don't dream anymore. Let's say you have dreaming during the night, but having like dreams to pursue. If you don't have those, it's also quite tough or hard to just be confronted with them as well. So if you dare to actually call out the dream and just process it through and know what you can do and what are like some traps if you try to open people up. That's sort of thing which I like to become more interested to become more active in. So right now it's just a passion for me, and I call it out like being a dream caller, but it can be like a vision coach or a vision quest or like a life coach in one way or another. But just calling out the dreams and see from there on what I can mean for you and the other way around. Yeah. So that's maybe the first one. The second one was like natural health researcher, and in one way or another you can also call it a naturopath, somebody who actually prescribes natural solutions for different kind of things, for health and performance related. And right now, I'm actually like to research from a biohacking point of view, but also from an alchemist point of view or an alchemy point of view, like a more ayurvedic one. From different angles, I like to see, okay, what can health do with you, and how can you actually change your behavior? How can different things work for you? I have a background of pharmaceutical sciences. I did a university degree, a bachelor's one, in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, at the VU University. And I finished it, but I finished it with asking myself, like, hey, I don't like medicines that much. They're like more about symptom treatment instead of like going to the cause, to like the full picture of the human person, to see where is the disease located and how can you actually affect it or treat it in one way or another. And so I started out with researching medicine, how to make them, but then eventually it's like, hey, this is symptom treatment and not looking to the full picture. So how can we do that instead? And how can you actually approach it? From there onwards, I looked into digital solutions. I was looking at natural health researcher, but also from a digital point of view, like how the one thing which influences us most of the day, most behavior, is our phone. Like 2 to 3 hours a day, we're on this little screen, which we're just scrolling through or going to social media channels or whatsoever, consuming information. So how can you use your phone to actually change or alter your health behavior, and also one way or another sustainability behavior, but the main focus is on health, and was my focus, so to speak. And from this focus, the digital focus, what else can happen or changes behavior the most are platforms. Platforms put ask and demand of services and products more together and structurize information in a new way, which makes it possible to make it like a more efficient, or more cheaper, or more informed decision on where to get your products or services. So how does this relate to health? So what kind of platforms are there? What kind of applications? How do they incentivize health? That's what I've been researching myself and looking into, okay, what kind of services or platforms or idea business models are out there. In addition towards how can behavior be tweaked or tuned or in one way or another influenced to become a more better version of yourself. So that's a bit about the natural health research. And right now I'm also working in particular with essential oils. And there's also, of course, not of course, but there's also a profession input as well. So I can make a living out of it. But at the same time, essential oils have been there around for like ages, but only recently we have been able to get these kind of high pure grade oils, which makes it even also possible to do like accurate, more accurate measurements with them to see what the influence is, the certain behaviors and certain health related dimensions, so to speak. So I'm looking into these and just testing around in my community to see like, hey, do you have any sleep related sleep related uncomfortable things, or like things you would like to see maybe a bit improved. Okay, what could maybe potentially be working from a natural point of view, natural solutions point of view, and just sampling with them and collecting data and see how this might work or not, and also just of course promoting and analyzing this data and putting publications out there. I do have to say in this case, it's not like a medical research in it all. I don't have like the accreditation as well either to do so, but more from a performance and wellness point of view to see what things natural solutions can do for you.
Yeah.
So I think that's like the second out of three job titles I put out there. And like the last one is the wellness advocate. And a wellness advocate is like, what's an advocate? Somebody who's promoting a certain kind of lifestyle or certain kind of information or a product or a service. And in this case about wellness, so more like how is like different dimensions of your life, how they're being influenced, how can maybe optimize them a bit more like performance wise. And also look into this aspect, particularly with essential oils, but also with different biohack insights and tools which have been worked with in the past, and see how these together can actually, in one way or another, improve your wellness or overall performance. So that's what I've been doing.
Perfect. Good. Very, very, very clear. So that's just a one note. So about the dream calling, you are not talking or dealing with lucid dreaming, right?
No, not at all.
Unfortunately,
And
I've been trying.
no guided meditations either, which I'm looking into as well. But it requires also some training and some practice. But it's something from the long term to incorporate in a consult I will be holding with you if you would go to a dream caller.
Yeah. Perfect. Thanks. So, and then link to what you already mentioned, because we will dive deep a little bit on this experiment you are doing. And but the two topics you mentioned already are sleep and biohacking, essential oils. Then why you think that biohacking and sleep are important? So what do you want to do to reach with biohacking in particular?
So I would like to start with sleep first. Why specifically
Yes.
sleep? Because they're like different aspects of life and of your wellness and your performance. But I
Yep.
think sleep in particular is one of the fields or the subfields which are easy to measure. And also, if you're doing a certain kind of experiment, let's say you use like an essential oil, like a different kind of product or a different kind of habit or experiment to measure how you sleep better or not, then from a feeling point of view, from a gut feeling point of view, you notice, of course, that you wake up throughout the night, but also how more rested or not you are the next morning. So it's like quite an easy thing to track yourself from an emotional point of view, or like from a gut feeling point of view. But additionally, that's where biohacking comes in. Biohacking is about, of course, I'm measuring is knowing and how to deal specifically like a personalized health plan based on your personalized data. And for sleep in particular, there are quite some sleep meters out there which can say a lot about how you sleep, like your deep sleep, your REM sleep, different things about circadian rhythm, how they're influenced, your heart rate variability, the different like parameters which you can track with different kind of sleep meters, and we're going better and better. Well, even though there are like still different ones out there which is still like, is it still working or not? But anyhow, in general, if you look at sleep and biohacking, it's a very interesting cross-section, a very interesting field in particular, because it's something you can measure easily, but it's also measurable easy without the meters as well. So I'm really looking into also how does digital technology in this aspect influence our behavior. And that's why I'm particularly interested in sleep and the biohacking in this specific cross section, so to speak.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, I interviewed Brian Johnson, the multimillionaire who is trying to go back in
The
time.
with a $1 billion project or a plan, annual plan. No, 1
Yeah,
million.
it's a $2 million per year, I think, and I think he mentioned that sleep is the first. Sleep is the first thing because it's a cascading down the domino effect.
But well, to be fair, if you go to a food expert, so to speak, or dietitian, this person will say like 90% of your immune system comes from your gut.
Yeah,
So
yes.
so you have like different things, of course, but indeed, sleep is one of the main pillars of having a healthy lifestyle, so to speak.
Yeah, and because I mean, from my personal experience, that's why I'm so keen to talk about sleep and recovery. Is if you don't have a good night's sleep, and then we can mention maybe soon what does it mean good night
Mhm.
sleep, and we can term of time or quality, and quality, what does it mean quality, and this is, I think this is good for the audience as well, is then the following day is really impacted. Nutrition as well, because there are studies linking poor night sleep with insulin levels, with cravings, and so nutrition, and then also, of course, mental clarity. Talking about nootropics and biohacking to increase focus, you can use them, okay, but if you don't take care of sleep, then are completely useless. And so is that's why it's like one of the key factors for me as well. And if you want to just go back to the essential oils you mentioned, can you please clarify what are these essential oils, define, and purity, how they are derived from the plants, and you
Yeah.
may take a couple of examples.
So if you look at essential oils, well, we have motor oil and we have sunflower oil. Those are not essential oils, so to speak. Essential oils are those which we deem essentially, in one way or another, like the products which we have to use or are in one way supporting our well-being or performance. And so let's say there are like different kinds of sources for the essential oils. You have like the citrus fruits, you have like the flowers, you have like the trees, you have like I'm not sure how you call it. It's like the gluey thing, like which is like on the which you can find on the trees.
Yep.
Not sure.
Resin, sort of
Resin.
resin.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have like resin-based oils as well,
Yeah.
and you have like menthol-based oils, like the menthol crystals, so to speak.
Okay.
And I think there are even more categories. So these are like the main ones, and they're all extracted in a different way. But it's like a purification process. Let's take, for instance, lemon oil. Lemons are made of lemon oil is made of lemons. It takes 75 lemons just to get 15 milliliters of oil. And what's maybe an interesting thing as well, like small little fact about oil, of the lemon oil, is and from the particular brand I'm working with, they provide essential oils on a certified pure tested grade, so to speak. And it's like this golden standard of how pure oils are. So they always have a specific, like have a pure quality, like a baseline of how good the product should be and how pure it is. And in their aspect of in their regards, like it takes 75 melons of lemons to get just 15 milliliters of lemon juice. So like just imagine like you have like this very small bottle and you just have like this amount of lemons. And in this regard, it's not made of the juice itself. Like the juice itself is not juice. It's like the outer layer, which is being used just to press. I believe it's called press, but I'm not sure how the oil extraction process goes. Which eventually leads to having like 15 milliliters of the oil left over.
Okay, so and when we talk about the pharmaceutical grade, is the same, or because there are some oils that I used to also use oil, not directly, but with like rosemary, which has got good influence on brain
So
memory.
I think if you look at pharmaceutically grade, that's like a term which can only be used in one way or another by pharmaceutical companies, so to speak, which can be applied for like a specific therapeutic purpose. So they mostly call it therapeutic grade. And what I know, for instance, from the company I'm partnering up with, they first call it therapeutic grade. But one issue with essential oils is they are not pure compounds. I mean, you can make like so essential oils are also made from how do you call it, like aromatic compounds.
Yep.
It's like the main the main aromatic activity makes sure you have like a different smell or a different color from the oil. And if you have like one pure eucalyptic oil, for instance, like one specific oil with like one specific how do you call it, one specific molecule in there, it's completely pure, then in one way or another it has filtered out all the other trace minerals and things which comes out from the eucalyptus plant. So if you say you have a pharmaceutical grade eucalyptus oil, then you just have like this aromatic compound which is completely purified, and that's like the oil thing you have left over. But and also different processes were happening to it. But if you really look at the oils which are like naturally derived, you have like the full scale of all the different trace elements and different sub elements which comes from the extraction process with the oil. So it's not just like the biggest. It's not like the let's say you have like so everybody knows Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
You just have like the normal Coca-Cola bottle. So that's like the one thing there is. If you look at the whole Coca-Cola thing, there are like maybe 20 different 40, 50 products in total, which are underneath this company. I'm not trying to make it promote any or make any commercial thing about it. But the whole thing is like, there's like maybe 100 different compounds still there, and not just like this one product, like this one pure thing.
Yeah.
And that's maybe also the difference, like if you get it naturally or you have like a pharmaceutical grade, which is just specifically the one main thing.
Yeah.
And that's maybe also the difference between having natural products, which shows you like all the different things which you can find in plants, but are not particularly being measured or isolated out of the sample. And maybe what's a fun thing to know, though, is right now these essential oils, they're of such a quality, consistent, pure quality with the whole spectrum in there, so to speak, that only like recently they are being able to do some pharmacokinetic studies about them. Which means like you can actually see on a consistent base, if you put like one drop in there, like there's a specific unit for drops, like dram, I believe it's called, dram. If you put like consistent base in there and apply it to 100 different people, then everybody has like the same result. Or you can actually just make like a baseline that everybody got the same amount. And previously that was not possible because the pure grade, so to speak, was not there. So essential oils derived from products itself not be described as therapeutic or like pharmaceutical, and they're just called being pure grade. So it's like a technicality about how you label the different oils in terms of grading.
Okay, and so talking about essential oils and biohacking, so self-quantification and experiments. So can you give us a couple of examples of essential oils that you tried and the outcomes of your personal experience?
Yes. So one thing which I tried with a couple of people around me is the use of tea tree oil. And tea tree oil has like an antibacterial working, so to speak, to it. And what it really helps with is with healing of little wounds and little scratches and so on. So some people in my surroundings have been using them, and they just like, if they have like an itchy thing or something, or like an open wound, they just apply a little bit of tea tree on it. And in one way or another, it seems to support in having like a healthy skin afterwards, or just in a healing process. I cannot make that claim particularly, so to speak. So hold me on to that one. Still do have to do a compliance course on this thing. But that's like one thing which I've been seeing. Another thing which I've been looking into is, in particularly, and we talked about this before, is the sleep experiment. So right now I'm looking into how different kind of oils, and in particular looking at lavender and vetiver, about those two oils, how they can actually affect your sleep. So what I've been doing, I've been calling around in my own network, so to speak, and see like, hey, who is interested or who has like in one way or another not optimal sleep, and would like to try something in addition to maybe what you're already doing or not, and just see what happens. So these oils are completely safe, and of course, if you drink them down, that's not meant to be, so to speak. Like different oils have different kind of application ways. Some you can intake, some you do them in a capsule, some are just for aromatherapy, so for smelling. Different ones just to apply topically, like the tea tree. And for this like sleep experiment as well, what I've been doing, we have been sending different questionnaires out about determining the sleep history, the current sleep situation, and also the after experiment situation of how you've been sleeping and how you feel, and trying to measure different kind of parameters. And in particular, also some people are working with sleep meters in this experiment to see what is the different data telling as well.
Yeah. So
So
yeah, a link to that. Yeah, what the parameter when we talk about quality of sleep? Because okay, we understand that there are some guidelines. There's a fork between 6, 8, 9 hours. Then we know that with the age, then this thing is changing over time.
mhm,
So the older you are, the less hours of sleep usually are
yeah.
typically seen in terms of hours of sleep. In terms of quality of sleep, when we talk about some parameter to be tracked with this smartwatch or health tracker,
Mhm.
so what do you think about those, the most one or two most relevant, or and we can talk even dive deep into the REM sleep or deep
Mhm.
sleep as well.
So there's the study which I'm doing is for like two different reasons. And one is indeed to in particularly see, okay, what's working, what's not, what kind of issues do people have, and what do they track their performance with, so to speak, or like the sleep performance. But second of all, is also to see how people are perceiving which meters are of importance. As some people are using these sleep meters and some are not. And also in what extent you're actually empowering yourself on the sleep topic. Because one thing, of course, if you want to improve your sleep or improve one aspect of your life, one thing to do about it is to learn about it. What kind of information is out there? What are the options? Explore. And so that's one thing which you can do. And we're also measuring, because we have like one group of people which are using these smart meters, are more into biohacking, so to speak, and there are those which are just sleeping bad and have never heard about what a sleep meter is, or what is your REM sleep or your deep sleep or your heart rate variability. They don't even know.
Mhm.
But still, they're trying something new because it just popped up in their social media, I think, in this case. But then still looking, okay, what kind of sleep meters are they using, and what's so that's like a distinction between the two. So let's first start with those without the sleep meter. One thing to measure with them is, okay, how much things do you know about sleep, about the circadian rhythm, about not sleeping, not having any blue light exposure or any television or screen time before going to bed, not having caffeine late in the night or any alcohol, so to speak. And there are also different takes on it, so as well. And also with what kind of regularity are you sleeping or not? Because you could say that maybe there's like also like the statement of if you just within 3 days you can reset your whole sleep pattern. Well, there are people which have been sleeping for terrible for like 10, 20 years, and if they knew how, well, it doesn't work with 3 days, of course. But it's easy just to get a different sleep rhythm in like even let's say 3, 4 days to reset it. And so also how regularly you go to sleep and on the same time, and every if it's every day of the week or not is also a factor which to measure. And these things in relation to what your overall stress levels are as well is a thing of interest. Because it could be you just have like a very busy life. You have like children, you have like 2 jobs, and you also have your sports society, and you have your friends coming over, and you have your mother to take care of.
Mhm.
Yeah, then you don't have time to unwind and just calm down. You don't have time to have some calming or resting practices during the day and before going to bed. So those are things you like to identify, and these are like more kind of qualitative data instead of quantitative data. So it's harder to track, but it's also things which are of interest to see. And with this population of people which are trying a specific new compound or solution out, then there's a second aspect, which is like more about the quantitative data, or those which the smart meters, like the how you can track your sleep. There are different parameters involved which you can use, and I'm not an expert myself completely on all of them because you can just keep on learning as well. You can get a degree on neuroscience and how sleep works. But the biggest ones which you could think of is like your ratio of your REM sleep and your deep sleep. And your REM sleep is like the first part of your sleep where you go really down and you actually, in one way or another, having a lot of visualize and sorry, you're processing a lot of the information which happened the day before, during the day. And then you have the deep sleep, which is like when also if you measure your heart rate and your heart rate variability and those things, you can identify how long your deep sleep is, and also your different sleep stages. So like there are 3 or 4. Don't look me
Ah,
up like which ones there are. And so that's one thing to look into. But then those sleep meters, they look on different elements in your blood. For instance, if you have like an Oura ring or a Whoop, you also have like the amount of movement you make throughout the night, which is an indicator on which sleep phase you are. You can also look at the amount of about the heart rate is like, is it low, is it high, during different kinds aspects of your sleep. And the whole thing about the sleep meters is to actually have like identify your sleep pattern over the night, and having different kind of sleep patterns, like having a prolonged REM phase or like a shorter deep sleep phase. Those indicate on certain kinds of yeah, like let's say not call it degenerative, but suboptimal sleep habits or patterns, which can in one way or another relate to a specific kind of stressor or specific kind of response to what happened throughout the day. So if you measure those things, you can identify like, hey, what's going on with a specific thing, and so like, hey, your REM sleep is too short, and then those people tend to look, okay, how can I improve my REM sleep? What are things which you can find on the internet? And it's an interesting thing which I'm also looking into for this sleep study, is so those which don't use any biohacking or are not actually promoting anything aside of going to the health your general practitioner or your family physician, your doctor, and they go there and they put their whole problem, so to speak, in the hands of their doctor, and they just prescribe them the medicines and say like, hey, you can use this diazepam or diazepam or whatsoever kind of medicine for sleep, and that's all they do with it. And they try to use it, and more often than not, it's not really serving them in the long term, and you're hooked on the sleeping pills, for instance. But I'm not saying it's not working. It's serving a lot of people with insomnia and different kinds of sleep-related issues. But it's those people which put the authority of their sleep and their health in the hands of the medical professional. And then you have those on the opposite, the biohackers, so to speak. And they try to become their own doctor, their own medical professional. And of course, there's some criticism as well, like, hey, you should not be your own doctor because it can be dangerous, yada, yada, yada. And of course, there is some risk involved. You need to know what you're doing, but there are many before you which already have pioneered the field. So, like, the big red flags are out there, and thank you for their sacrifice. You might want to call them for those people. But right now, there's like more clarity on what's working, what's not. Of course.
Sure. Because you're perfectly right. There is a disclaimer on each of the podcasts I publish for obvious reasons, and there are things that we can do with, I think, this without any or potential impact. But when we start taking drugs, or we can take supplements, or we can take things like melatonin as well, even for melatonin. It could be a problem impacting or interacting with any other thing. And then we know, for instance, whether alcohol is an impact on REM sleep duration, of a lack of minerals, and the HRV you mentioned, and there's a good indicator that in the recent couple of years, I think that everyone is talking about HRV, and in particular because it's coming from the athlete world, where athletes are actually basing the training intensity on the HRV values. And so basically, just roughly, if your HRV is low, and should just take more rest, because you are under stress physiologically. So do not give your body a hard workout or high intensity. You go slower today. It was curious because when I asked this to Brian Johnson as well, who is basically doing the same thing every day, he basically said, I recover every day. Again, there is lot of subjectivity. And in terms of subjectivity, the risk, let's say, with experiment with subjectivity is obviously the placebo effect.
Yeah.
Because while you have some data that can be variable, of course, you have some data, some trend, and baseline. When you talk about subjectivity, then the impact of placebo could be more relevant.
True. Yeah, that's indeed also something which you also have to take into account if you do an experiment. Like, how can you make sure the placebo effect can be ruled out or not? And it also makes the experiments way more replicable as well, and also more scientifically resilient, so to speak. And of course, if you do it like in the case of oils, it's a bit harder perhaps. Because if you have an oil which is very has like a specific smell, like everybody knows the smell of lavender, right?
Yeah.
So what you can do is like you can maybe have an alternative like a lavender without, which is not purely great, like which just has some filler, different oil, so to speak, and like the smell is like really light, or like have like a transparent oil, like just coconut oil and all, and just like letting them know like, hey, this is so pure, it doesn't have the smell. I don't know, like have how do you call it? a control group, which has like a sugar pill, so to speak, basically. And therefore, in that way, you can actually also analyze, hey, has this an influence or not? But to take like one step more back, if you want to also make sure this is like statistically significant, right now the skill of the research I'm doing is like 50, 60 participants. So if you want to have a statistically significant as well, you need like not like 4 or 2 groups of 30 or 15 people. Now you just have to have like a different kind of couple of hundreds users. And then you can also statistically check for the placebo effect as well. So that's not what I'm doing particularly now in the small scale experiment I'm doing. It's just to see like, hey, could it have an effect that people are interested in how the product works? Then okay, it could be placebo effect, of course. That's one. But most of the time, people have already tried different things, and specifically also these biohackers. They also have the data to back it up. Then, of course, there's also the question: how can the placebo effect itself alter the biomedical data?
Yeah.
It's also an interesting thing to see. I'm actually looking forward to see if we have like bigger experiments like this to also check for this. But so far as I know, no real research has been done on actually how the smart meters are influencing the perception of how the data is, compared to those which are not using the data or using a placebo. So that's I'm really looking forward to, because that's still something which research has to catch up to.
Yeah. I mean, telling personal experience. Data, yes, I used to be more self-quantified person in the past,
For yourself,
but as soon as you start looking at your trends, then I think also Tim Ferriss as well started doing so. But
Who? Sorry?
Tim Ferriss,
Tim Ferriss.
yeah, Tim Ferriss. But after years, you start knowing, and you don't need anymore a very detailed specific monitor or any. You start feeling you know what is wrong, what is doing well. Maybe perhaps every x number of years you should do another sort of control test check. But so that's why I'm personally, even if my HRV in the morning says, oh, maybe you should rest a little bit, if I feel, I really don't care. But there are people that are really sticking to it. So if the HRV says slow, okay, I do something else. This is different approach again. And you mentioned, yeah, of course, we are not talking about the double-blind placebo control testing grade level, but the value of this experiment is huge, because pioneers are always been people like this. Biohacking, quantified self movement is part of this, because again, many biohackers say, okay, the time that this thing will be tested, allowed to be in the market, maybe I will be not here to test it. So there are pros and cons, of course, with knowledge and use and things.
And I think that's also like maybe one of the drawbacks which contemporary science points a finger about to biohackers. It's like the scientific richness of the experiments they perform. Like, it's not double blind, it's not checked for placebo. So like, it's pseudoscience, or it cannot have any additional data can be described from this. It's so that's like, of course, like a critical remark, but at the same time, it should not demotivate people to do so. I mean, of course, there are one way or another like small kind of there's like always a risk involved if you try to experiment or self-quantify yourself one way or another. But it's better than using no data, for instance. And as well, it lays the road for future research and just laying the groundwork to make sure we have like double-proof, placebo-checked health interventions or wellness performance interventions, which are more natural based or more biohacker based, so to speak. So
yeah. Well, going back to your study, sleep study, I don't know when this will be published. I think we can manage not to influence. I mean, you are going to test 2 oils at the same time, right? Together. Yeah. For 7 nights. So the duration of this is 7 nights. I'm curious about, because I know that, okay, you can use essentialoils with that diffuser with but there is can you please talk about the 2? And I'm curious about the application for the vetiver, because is
Yes.
I'm really in also the Ayurveda practice, and I used to have a lot of colleagues and friends from India, and when they used to tell me, for instance, one when I remember he got some sort of cold, so with sneezing, and one day he came up with a powder, and the powder is he put powder here on top of his head
Mhm.
for one night, and he said that the following morning it is wet all night. I think this was what they said, and the following one it was okay. And from coming from a Western medicine world approach, this sound really it's strange to me, because why
Yeah.
you're putting powder inside. He said to tell me that this is one of the ingress input for the body according to Ayurveda, and this the vetiver is applied at the bottom of the feet, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
so vetiver can be used in different ways,
yeah,
and one of them, which we prescribe for the for the study, is to put it underneath the big toe. And why the big toe? Because there's where the sleep meridian is
yeah.
connected. So like all the nerves which are connected to your brain for sleep, they go through the ends of them are through in your big toe, so to speak. So what we prescribe or not prescribe, what we
Yeah.
set out as instructions, so to speak, is to apply the vetiver in like in a small roller bottle underneath the big toes, and also underneath the sole of the feet, where the thickness of the feet is like very thin, so to speak, so it's easier absorbed.
Yeah.
And so that's like one place to do, but a different place to apply, and it's more like which we have heard from folklore of storytelling from I heard from different people around me which have been using vetiver as well. It's not folklore, but like telltale people telling how it could use is to apply it in the navel. But there's also a small drawback about it because vetiver itself, it's like a grass, and the oil is made of the roots, and the roots are particularly long. So these roots, this vetiver is mostly used at the dunes for also getting stabilizing the scents and so on. But these roots are very long, and from an energetic point of view, are really grounding in that way. So from a more spiritual point of view. But vetiver in itself is used for to treat. No, hold on. Vetiver can be applied to help in a healthy sleep, to keep your sleep healthy. And in particular, people with insomnia have seen the usage of application of vetiver to, in one way or another, have elevate or in one way or another support their sleep or healthy sleep. So,
Mhm.
and I have to really watch out with the claims. I'm not really versed in them.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
disclaimers to speak so to hear. But the how you call it? So what I did is they one story, which I can talk about stories, of course, but experiences.
Sure.
One experience, a friend of mine, which is used to be a general practitioner, put like one drop of pure vetiver, pure graded vetiver oil, in the navel of the client, so to speak. And this client has been on sleep medication for like 10, 15 years on different kinds of diazepam, temazepam, those kind of sleep pills.
Mhm.
And this person announced or experienced or shared with the general practitioner, like this person hadn't been sleeping as this good for like so long. And in particular, this person was having insomnia. And yeah, from one day on the other, this person quitted with taking the sleep medication. Well, there's also not something I can recommend, so to speak. Always do this in accordance with your doctor, and also like quitting drastically just in one go with your medication also has some side effects or drawbacks. Make sure if you want to see in one way or another how you want to be free of your medicine again, see how you can actually lower those over time. That's what I would recommend, but I'm not a medical advisor in one way or another. But that's what would be like the more general approach to dealing with this. But anyhow, that's like one account of vetiver. So right now we're looking into sampling just these products out, and these are actually very well compatible with any kind of sleep medication you would have. I mean, there are some oils which have like cross effects with certain kind of medications. So always see one way or another how you can make sure you are well informed whether you can use them or not.
Mhm.
There's enough information reference on the internet for that as well. but also the person who's providing them also has like some people with medical expertise available to actually see whether or not this is a recommended thing to do. But then in this case, these oils are able to be used in any way your body's already functioning, so to speak. And so what we did, or what I did, is to see in my environment, like, hey, people, is there anybody who's like a suboptimal sleep or has like an issue with sleeping in a healthy, proper way? And would you like me to be interested to use trying out a natural product? And so I've been doing that. I got like around 40 to 50 responses. And we're sampling right now during the experiment. I think like the first people have maybe received their samples today or yesterday and are starting their 1 week sleep experiment and see how it goes. And then we record the difference in how they feel before the experiment and afterwards and see what's the effect.
Well, that's great. And of course, keeping all the parameters, trying to keep all the other parameters constant on the, just to have less impact. That's very, so we don't know when this podcast will go out, probably after, and you mentioned that people are already receiving, so 7 days. So yeah, I think we can give after. So are you planning to do same things in the future, and how the listeners can reach out?
Yeah, so I'm going to do the same thing in the future. One next experiment is already planned for what you want to do with tea tree. And see like how does it do you have like any skin rashes or any the skin irritation or anything like an unsettled skin or like some wounds on there which you like, in order to see if there's like a natural solution to help us support in having a healthy skin. And so that's what I'm going to do. That's the next thing. So this one is about sleep. But if you look about your skin, it's way harder to have like some biomedical data about it. So it's like very hard to measure like how's your skin doing or not. So that's maybe an issue from a biohacking point of view, but in any way, it's about trying a new experiment and seeing like, hey, how does this work? Just measuring from a more qualitative data point of view on how this affects you or not. And then, of course, you can be completely healthy and then seeing the there's maybe a very small, significant difference to you when you have like a wound on your finger and you're applying tea tree on it, like, oh, it's healing in 2 days instead of 3 days. Well, you're not sure how to track that properly as well. So that's one thing I'm doing, and I will be reaching out through LinkedIn mostly as well in my network, and just through my social contacts and through WhatsApp and so on. But you can find me on LinkedIn. My name is Jimmy Duker, and you can find me over there. And so that's where my future research will be out. Furthermore, the sleep experiment itself, I'll be making this a bit bigger because it's going to be part of my graduation thesis for my studies in Master of Digital Business Innovation at the VU in Amsterdam. So when this is finished, you can also, I'll publicize it on LinkedIn as well, and can be found in the university library as well there.
Perfect. I think that we can follow up after this, but for the time being, we can close the recording now. So thanks, Jimmy, for being here, and I will post all the links into the show notes. So for the future, and let's stay in touch.
Sweet. Thank you, Manlio. Lovely channel you have here, and looking forward to hear more from you.
Thank you.
Did you like this episode? If so, simply subscribe, thumbs up, and click on the notification bell not to lose any opportunity in the future. And remember, sharing is caring, even for a coffee. Even better. Till next time, see you soon.